breathing. It sounds easy enough and we're doing it all day long. And as a yoga teacher, it's one of the first things that we're taught. But many of us, myself included, do it improperly. I don't use my diaphragm enough, and I tend to dump into my chest and my accessory muscles. So I'm going to share with you the techniques that I use to learn how to breathe properly, and in doing so, I created much more mobility in my upper body and in my shoulders, keeping myself injury-free and enhancing my performance in all the things that I do. I'll be using a little space at the wall, and if you have a yoga block or yoga strap or a TheraBand, you can include that too, but if you don't have them, no big deal. These techniques are foundational, even though they're not super glamorous. It really begins to affect all the different aspects of our life. So let's take a look. The first thing we want to do is learn how to breathe without our accessory muscles, and those are for my chest breathers. If you have your TheraBand or yoga strap, I want you to bring it up around your rib cage. So when you're tying this, it doesn't have to be super tight, but I do want you to have it really hugging the ribs. The reason why we have this here is so that we have something to push against, which really helps us emphasize that diaphragmatic breath. Lie on the floor, and I want you to get nice and close to the wall with your head. By putting the hands against the wall and actively pushing into the wall as we breathe, we're shutting off any of the accessory muscles in the upper body, right? So not any movement of the chest or the shoulders, but really driving to the rib cage. Now, if you have the band around your rib cage, you should be able to feel the expansion on the breath in and the release on the exhale. You'll take a couple rounds of breath here, just feeling the ribcage expand. And the ribs collapse in as you exhale. And on to our second part. This time we'll be facing away from the wall. You want to create a 90-degree angle. And if you have your yoga block, you'll place it between your legs, right? So I want this 90-degree angle between myself and the wall. I also like to put my hands on my rib cage. So my goal here is to lock out the pelvis and focus on the expansion through the ribs. This is not a bridge lift, it is a subtle tilt of the pelvis. So ever so slightly, I'm gonna curl the tailbone under. The navel's drawn in, the glutes are turned on, but the hamstrings are not. I just want you to focus on breathing into your rib cage. Look for that outward expansion. And exhale, feel them collapsing in. We also want to maximize our breath by learning how to count. So I'm going to count the length of the inhale for 5. Exhale for 7. And hold at the bottom for maybe 2 or 3 beats. And I'll repeat this at least 5 rounds of breath, right? So I'll just go 5 rounds of breath, inhale 5, exhale 7, holding for 3. What that's gonna do is, especially for our chest breathers, it's gonna help increase the amount of CO2 in our body, because chances are you don't have enough. So just to review, it is a slight pelvic tilt, breathing out into the rib cage, feeling the exhale, ribs collapse inwards, and holding at the bottom. And releasing. And I have one more tip for you. You can do it any time of day. Now that I know how to breathe outward into my rib cage, I also want to make sure that I'm not dumping into my accessory muscles. So I want to think of a downward action of the shoulders as I breathe in to really emphasize the expansion through the rib cage. Rather than jamming your shoulders down your back, I want you to focus on a diagonal cross, which helps open the chest. So you're going to take your right shoulder and slide it into your imaginary left pocket. And then you're going to take your left shoulder and slide it into your imaginary right pocket. And in doing so, you'll notice the shoulder blades pull back and down, and there's a nice opening across the chest. So as you breathe in, I can pull down and across with the shoulders and out with the rib cage. Right? So do that any time of day. You'll want to use these techniques at least for a week or so that you can really learn the mechanics and the feeling of what it's like to really use our diaphragm properly. I suggest doing it before you hit the gym, your yoga mat, or out in the field in your sport. Hopefully you found this beneficial. If you learned something new, give it a thumbs up and a like, and of course consider subscribing for new weekly content, something to keep you longer, stronger, and leaner. Hopefully I get to work with you again soon, and of course, namaste.